He went from potential top 5 pick to fifth round. Mike, what do you think?
He was going to be the 2nd overall pick, the 3rd overall pick, 6th, 9th, 21st, and he drops all the way to the 5th round. There's so many layers to what happened over the course of this weekend, and there are so many factors at play into why I think teams struggled with the concept of drafting him. I think if you look at just what he does on the field, I don't think he's a first-round talent, but I think he's a 2nd-round talent.
I think that's
certainly
fair.
A third, like he's a day 2 guy at the very least. For him to drop all the way to the 5th round, this was a lot more than just what he does on the field. Stretch, what did you think of the fact that he dropped and how far he dropped?
Yeah, shocking how far he dropped.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, guys, that when you show an appearance of, confidence, that's good. I think you walk a fine line with being confident, and I think a lot of people take it differently than that. And then when the name on the back of your jersey says Sanders, and we know your dad has a gold jacket, I just think there's a lot of things that went into this. If you just flip on the tape and you watch him make plays and you watch him make throws and you watch him take a university that, quite frankly, guys, it was bad football when Carl Durrell was a head coach at Colorado. And you saw what he did and how he did it. I think there's something to be said for people just being almost intimidated of maybe dealing with Deion, maybe knowing that Deion was going to be at camp some. And like any dad, he would certainly want to be there, but it's not going to be like any other dad showing up at camp and supporting their son. He's going to have a sideline pass, and he's going to be in the mid, and all the cameras are going to be on him. And I don't know that a lot of people can really, be comfortable in their own skin dealing with that.
I think there's a lot of people that have to be comfortable in their own skin in that situation because of everything that does come along with Shedeur and Deion and the entourage and the video crew and all of these things, where if you see Shedeur Sanders as your starting quarterback, you can make your peace with all of the hoopla that surrounds Shedeur. If he's going to be your backup, which if you're drafting him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, he's going to probably be your backup quarterback. Think about Cooper Rush. Think about just about any backup quarterback in this league. You don't really ever hear anything about him unless the starter gets hurt. That's not going to be the situation with Shedeur Sanders. So you have to have a starting quarterback that has the chutzpah to deal with that. You have to have a head coach that has the confidence to deal with the idea of Deion Sanders kind of just lurking there under the surface as a guy who's had success coaching at the collegiate level. And even though he kind of poo-pooed the idea this particular offseason of going to the NFL, it's kind of in the ether that maybe at some point, where else is he going to go but the place that his son is playing? So when you draft this kid, do you immediately sign your walking papers? That has to factor into the evaluation, not the evaluation, but I think the nerves of any of these GMs, these coaches, and even by extension now, whoever the quarterback's going to be, whether it's Deshaun Watson or anybody else there in Cleveland, all of these people have to deal now with that threat of their job.
And guys, let's be honest. Everybody has a certain sense of insecurity with who they are. I got my own insecurities. Everybody has that.
Buddy.
And so
I
think dealing with, I think as a head coach, think about the offensive coordinator having to deal with that. Think about, hey, I've got to design something to help him be successful for fear that, I could get the wrath of the Colorado head coach looking right down this script and saying, what the hell did you make that call for?
Mm-hmm. Coach, I want to follow up, though, because I feel like the Browns made a statement by taking Gabriel above Shedeur, and I feel like that was because they very easily could have swapped picks and no one would bat an eye. To me, because once they took Gabriel, I was sitting there thinking, who is going to take Shedeur, and was he going to just fall out of the draft entirely, which would have been a huge insult. My question to you is them taking Gabriel before Shedeur not a nice way, but a subtle way of saying, we don't think you're as good as this guy, and trying to light another personal fire under Shedeur before he steps on the field as a member of the Cleveland Browns, because they've already got 3 other quarterbacks on that roster that'll be vying for playing time. No surprise to anyone, the Browns have a mess at the quarterback position.
I mean, how much fun would we have if Jimmy Haslam owned this team? I think we'd be on this show for 2.5 hours, just tossing it back and forth and back and forth. I mean, did they send a message? Maybe. Do they want to make sure that they have their bases covered? Maybe was he the best player on their board? I mean, that's a possibility. So they just said, hey, let's take him, and you know what? If it doesn't work out, We'll go a different direction. It's not like Cleveland's done a great job of picking quarterbacks, whether it's Tim Couch or we need to start calling roll in the mistake by the lake.
That list of jerseys, yeah.
Yeah, it's adding 2 more at a minimum here. We'll see what happens where that's concerned.
Everything he just said is why the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is a daily talk show that is 2 hours long, because they got a bag on the Browns all the time.